Hello, and welcome to Scissors Baked Goods. Today we're going to be making the top of a wedding cake, just for practice though, not for a real one. So we're going to make pound cake, since it's an easy recipe. All you have to do is put a pound of all the ingredients. So first we're going to put the flour and the salt together, and whisk it up to get a nice air in there. And we're going to just break up this butter. Make sure you use warm, room temperature butter. I have to keep breaking mine up since it's not room temperature, but I'll come back in a bit and let it become room temperature after I've broken it up a bit. There we go, all broken up. Now that I've let it sit for a bit to get to room temperature, I'm going to add in the sugar. Again, a pound of everything. That's what makes a pound cake a pound cake. 1 pound sugar, 1 pound butter, 1 pound flour, 1 pound eggs. So once those are in, I'm going to weigh out my eggs as well. Now this should be about 9 eggs, but always weigh it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, it turns out this time it's 8. I got slightly larger eggs, so always make sure you weigh. I'm going to mix these up. Butter and sugar together first. We're going to be doing creamy method. You really want to be using a paddle instead of a mixer, but we're going to just mix it till it gets to this consistency. I'd actually prefer to go a little bit more than this, and it's one of my mistakes. I needed to whip it just slightly a bit more, get a little bit more in there, so that it becomes more fluffy and a lot more pleasant to eat. I'm going to put the vanilla into the eggs, and then slowly mix the eggs into the sugar and butter. Don't mix it too quickly or it will separate. So just a little bit at a time, about an egg at a time. So you should be doing this in about 8 parts, since I had 8 eggs. But if you had 9 eggs, in about 9 parts. Slowly going. Add a little bit more and a bit more. There we go. A little bit more. There we go. Halfway there. Gets a bit tedious, but keep going. And then there, finally, all done. Last little bit. We're gonna whip it up. Now it's gonna whip up look like this. It's gonna turn very white. It's gonna have a lot of volume. Now we're gonna add the flour in 3 parts. So 1 part, and right before it's mixed in, add another part, and then add the last part as it's almost mixed in again. You don't want to overmix it once the flour's in, or you'll get a dense dough, just like a rock. It's not going to be pleasant at all. Always make sure you clean up as you go. You don't want to have a sink full of dishes in the end. So I'll get rid of this stuff. Also, gives you a bit more space. And again, I know I don't have that much space, since I have a very cluttered station, but it's very good to clean as you go. Now we're going to oil all these pans, just like so. Make sure you get all the sides and the bottom. It's going to look just like this. I'm using 6-inch pans for this cake today. And since there's 4 ingredients and 4 pounds in each one, all I have to do is weigh a pound of batter into each pan. So we're just gonna weigh that out. There we go. All 4 done. And then I'm gonna use my offset spatula to flatten it out, just like so. There we go. Gonna finish all 4. Now we're gonna put the oven on to 325 convection. I don't know how long this is gonna take, so we're gonna try 20 minutes first, and we'll see what it looks like after that. So let's just throw these in here. Perfect. Luckily I can fit all of these in. So after that 20 minutes, they're not even close to being done, so I'm gonna add another 15 minutes, and we'll see how they look after that. Turns out they weren't that great after that too, so I added another 5 minutes. So that's a total of 40 minutes. Here we are. Done. Perfect. Just pull those out and we'll get a nice look at them. Now my oven bakes a bit weird, so like I have all these little burnt marks, but that's okay. It's not going to affect the taste or anything. And as you can see, it bounces back when I push. Now it's time to get to decorating. I'm going to be using a Swiss buttercream to cover my cake for this week. I'm just going to pipe it to make it easier. I have this nice cake tray, or sorry, cake spinny thing. I actually don't know what this is called. I'll come back next time with the real name. I like to pipe it out first so I get a nice even layer, and then spread it out to make sure that it's nice and flat for the next layer. So I'm just gonna flatten it out, put the next layer on, and then get back to getting the next layer on. Perfect. You want to get the same level. I know that it's slightly off kilter. I'll fix that in a little bit. But we're gonna first get the layer on again. If you can see, I'm not holding the bag too much so that it heats up the buttercream. You don't want to melt it. There we go. Last layer. I'm gonna do one last buttercream layer. I'm not gonna actually use the last piece, so I'm just gonna freeze that and save it for some other thing. I'll find out what I'll do with that later. Now I'm gonna just pipe into the cracks because I didn't put enough, and then I'm gonna put the rest on the outside. Make a nice thin layer. I'm going to be covering this with fondant, so I don't need to have a super thick layer of buttercream. So I don't need to make any extra and like have this completely white. I just need to make sure that it's a nice flat surface to put the fondant on. So I'm going to get every last little bit out, just like that. Then I'm going to make it nice and smooth on the side. There we go. Make sure those cracks are fully filled in. There we go. And I need a little bit more to make it nice and flat, so I'm going to take a little bit from the top while making that also flat. And making it nice and perfect all the way around. It's gonna end up, I know that's a bit rough, but again, I'm gonna be covering with fondant, so it's better to go quick and strong versus to dilly-dally and try and make it look absolutely perfect. Now on to the fondant. You saw my nice colors here. We're gonna be using rose for the flowers, and then we're gonna use ivory and brown to try to make a beige cover. Be very careful with these gels. They're super strong and will color anything. So, oh, come on, camera. There we go. Just a little bit like that on your knife. It will probably be all you need. Maybe a bit more than that. So just smear that on. You're gonna see I'm gonna hang that one end off the table so that I don't color my table with brown. Then we're just gonna fold it into itself until it turns nice and brown. Just like so. I have icing sugar to make sure it doesn't stick to the table too much. There we go. Turns out it wasn't enough, so I'm gonna add another little bit. Fold that in nice and good. Need a little bit more icing sugar. There we go. I'm gonna make myself a little bit of brown ball. So I made a teal, or sorry, ivory big ball, and I'm gonna add a little bit of brown in there with a little bit of white. We're gonna see how that turns out. Get a little dusted. So it's a little more of a human color, but that's okay. This is more for practice anyways. I'll be able to fix the color to whatever the bride or groom wants in a regular wedding cake whenever I get a chance to make one. So that should definitely be rolled out enough. Now there's a lot of icing sugar that I put on the bottom there so that it wouldn't stick to the table. So I'm going to be scraping all that off so you can see the line. There we go. Just get all that off. Don't want all that onto the cake itself, right? Because that it will be the bottom when you fold it over top of the cake. So we're just going to roll that up, lift it up, throw it on. Now make sure you got lots of room, and there you go. I made way too much, but that's okay. So I'm just going to bring this closer. And now with the fondant, to make sure it's nice and smooth and you don't get any of those creases or curtains, that's what I like to call them because they kind of look like curtains, is you pull up slowly and like fold in. Pull up, fold in. And keep going up and down with your fondant. Be very careful, you don't want it to rip. And as you do this, you'll slowly get rid of those creases. Get rid of those curtains. The other thing that will help is I have way too much fondant right now, and I know I can cut off a huge amount. So I'm gonna actually cut quite a bit of it off once I've got this first bit started. Just like so. Just to make it more easy to do the whole pull up and down without ripping the fondant. It also helps to make sure that you keep your fondant fairly thick. About a quarter of an inch would be perfect. Just so it has the strength to not rip and you can't see through it and see the cake underneath it. You never want it to have too thin. There we go, just going to keep folding up and down, till I can finally cut all the way around. So I got most of it done. Sorry that I got the cake on the other side. I should have moved my camera. But that's okay, you're getting the gist of it at least. There we go. Get all the way around. As you can see, as I go through, I'm using my hand to push the bottom to make a seam, to make sure that it's nice and tight to the bottom, so that when I pull up and down on the other areas, that it'll help it keep every area nice and tight to the cake. So as you saw there for a split second, there was a ribbon beginning to form. So I'm just going to pull up and down, and then slowly push it down, and then pull it back up, and push it slightly down. There we go. Perfect. Now I'm just going to shave off all the excess. Straight from the bottom. Don't worry too much. I have a cardboard underneath so that it's not damaging my knife. There we go. And you can always use this extra since it's not any flour in it. You don't have to worry about the gluten. You can just knead all this back into a ball, wrap it up. Make sure it's wrapped really well. You don't want it to dry out. There we go. Just wrap that, put it away. Then I can use that for some other tea. I always can add white to make it less brown, or I can add more brown to make it darker. Whatever I need for the day. And I'm just going to smooth it out, just like so. Now we're going to move on to the flowers. Again, I'm going to be using pink. Just move the knife away. I don't want to dye anything else pink. I already have super pink fingers right now. There we go. Just keep kneading that until it becomes pink. A little too pink. So I'm going to add a bit of white. Just cut back on the pink. There we go. Just fold it in. And again, I'm going to need a little bit of icing sugar. Make sure it doesn't stick too much. You don't want it to be a gooey mess. There we go. So I'm just going to roll this out. And we're going to cut out circles to make our petals for our flowers. I don't need all of this, so I'm going to do the same thing I did with all that excess fondant, the brown fondant. I'm going to wrap this and put it away on the side. Just like so. Make sure you wrap it really good again. You don't want it to dry out. Then you can't really use it. And then we're just going to roll this out. A nice big sheet. And then we're going to just cut out circles. I'm going to make a few small ones with these small circles, and then I'm going to make one big one for the middle. So I'm going to roll this into a ball because I need just a bit more big circles. There we go. And I'm going to get my last circles out of this. And put the rest away. Now to make these flowers, I'm going to be making little roses. You want to thin out the side that you're going to see in the flower and keep the part that's going to be the base of the flower thick so that it can hold itself. If you make it thin on the top there, it'll nicely make those bends of like petals of a rose with like still being able to be adjusted if needed. You don't ever want it to be too thick because then it just looks like a ball of dough and it's just gross looking. You want to make a nice flower. So what we're going to do is we're going to thin out all half of the petal and then we're going to roll them all together just like so. Now I haven't done this in a while, so I struggle for the first little bit, so you can laugh at me for a little bit, but just you wait. You'll see what it turns out in the end. So as I keep going, it's good to have cold hands for this, by the way. My hands were getting a bit hot and was making it a little difficult to do. So you can start it like this, and then move on to the next one. You don't have to have everything prepped right away. You just gotta make sure that you move quickly. You can use a rolling pin, your finger, whatever you want to make sure those are thinner. I didn't like how it looked, so I'm gonna actually undo this. Because I felt like it was a little too loose, and I wanted the flower to be a lot more tighter. So we're going to just undo this, re-roll this, just like so. I'm going to leave a lot more room now this time. And roll this one in. Roll this one in. Just like that. So the key to this flower is leave a lot of petal left for the next petal to attach to. If you have it too little, it becomes very loose and it just looks like a mess, and it will all just like fold to the table. It'll just become flat and just look ugly. So there we go. After this, I'll have one more petal. There we go. Remember, cold hands. The hotter your hands are, the stickier it's going to be, and the more pain it's going to be. So just keep working at it. So once you get all of the amount of petals you want, big flower could be 5 petals, 6 petals, or whatever. You pinch it off right around there, and you'll take the other half, reuse it, whatever you want. Make sure that the flower itself's all stuck together so that it doesn't just unravel at this stage. And again, the flowers for a big one, 5, 6 petals, maybe a little bit more. Medium, 4 or 5. Small, I always do 4 minimum, or not 4 minimum, sorry, 3 minimum. Just like that, and now I'm gonna push the petals outwards more to make it into an actual flower. Before it was more of just a bunch of spirals, but now as I pull those petals out, this is why you want them thin, so that they can do this. Sadly, my camera turned off without me realizing it, so I couldn't get film off the other flowers being made, but this is how the cake turned out in the end. I put a little ribbon on the bottom, made a few leaves, just like that, and I made a few white flowers as well. Now, if you've liked this video, please like and subscribe. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I even have my own website. Thank you, and have a nice day.